Hiya, and welcome back to Echo. Uh, let's just jump right in. The awkward silence. I take the bend out of Mary Drive, trying to squint through dust kicked up by my vehicle past the sagebrush ahead. Carl isn't exactly small or stealthy, so if he's around here, I should be able to see him. The more I drive, the more I start to notice how little maintenance the dirt roads receive out here. My tires kick up topsoil and gravel, and divots mar the surface and jolt me in my seat. Unlike Flynn's trucker Leo's van, my little clunker isn't meant for these sort of roads. I can practically feel my maintenance bill growing. As I approach the turnoff to Jasmine Street, I pull over to the side of the road. I reach back into my shorts and take my wallet, placing it in the glove box and locking it, just in case. Stepping out of the vehicle, a cool sweat begins to form along my neck, and I have to remind myself that I'm 21. We are all adults, I can drink, I have a car, I live by myself. And Carl is in trouble. As I walk through the clearing of dry bush, I'm reminded of the last time I was here. I had a fight with my parents. I think it was over my grades or Leo, or something. Eventually I had enough of being yelled at and took off for a generic teenage angst walk. And my MP3 player was with me at the time, so I had my earbuds in and had the emo core cranked up. Okay, so this was like 2008. Hours passed and it was like I wasn't even awake, just meandering through the desert bleary-eyed and directionless. I must have ended up on Jasmine because the abandoned school was nearby. I remember stopping to kick a rubber tire or something, and before I could, an arm appeared. It was furless, sort of pinkish, and incredibly long. It just sort of showed up in the corner of my vision, stretching out in front of me, like someone was trying to hug me from behind. The music on my MP3 player had stopped, and there was a complete absence of sound besides ringing in my ears. For some reason, I still don't understand, I didn't move. Maybe I was too scared. I did speak, but all I could say was, hey. And then someone hit me over the back of the head and called me a cocksucker. Okay then. Wait, I forgot to put up the teenage angst. They tried to take my MP3 player too, but I was clutching it so tightly at that point they couldn't get me to release it, no matter how many times they hit me in the head. I ended up telling Leo about it later, and he basically forbade me from ever going near Jasmine Street again. He kept asking who did it. I told him I don't know, but Leo thought I was just trying to keep him from harm. He went on a big speech about how, where he comes from, if someone did this shit to a man's significant other, they'd be fucking dead. I was tired and my head hurt, so I asked him how well that philosophy was working out for everyone in his home country. That just made him even angrier, and he kept going on about how he's supposed to be the protector of us all. I just had, like, the greatest thought ever about this, and I keep doing this bullshit, but I simply have to. Ah, fuck. He-Man. He-Man. And there we go. We got Leo Man now. Sorry, like that whole thing just made me think of He-Man for whatever reason. So Leo Man. That just made him even angrier, and he kept going on about how he's supposed to be the protector of us all. Hell, he even name-dropped Sydney to help prove his point. Someone he almost never brings up because it kills the good mood. I come to a stop at the edge of the clearing. The street sign on the corner at the base of the hill confirms my location. Jasmine Street. Also known as Tetanus Alley, if you ask Flynn. No wonder Jenna changed her name. I make a point to keep my tail from touching the ground, occasionally checking the path ahead for shattered glass. Looking through the shattered windows of abandoned manufactured homes and littered hilltops, I can't imagine Carl in a place like this. Approaching Jenna's old house, I take stock of how it's aged. Poorly. It's stucco, like most of the other trailers about, but it hasn't seen a good coat of paint in at least a decade. The lawn is overgrown with weeds, and old convenience store wrappers lay entangled within the grass. Even as little kids, we never played here. Jenna would always insist we go to Leo's, or my house. Listening in and peering through the torn screen windows, I can see that no one is home. Moving on around the back, I hear some chatter behind the half-demolished home next door. Some familiar voices stand out instantly, and I keep out of sight behind the debris. No, it wasn't like that. Heather says this in a babyish whine, practically a coo. There was a rasp to her speaking voice that I don't remember her having. You lit up with him all day in that shed, and you're saying you didn't do that? No. He was really, really sweet. I mean, he had an accent and everything. What kind of accent? That voice I don't recognize. Sort of gravelly but artificial, like someone trying to make their voice sound deeper than it is. You know, the Hispanic ones. Is that still, PC to say? Because my cousin was telling me off fierce-like for using that other word. You called Josh spick, Heather. Is that a slur? I don't know I don't know if it is, and I feel bad for saying it. But I meant it in a good way, like when you called me my night rat. You can call me whatever the fuck you want, Heather, just don't be throwing that shit around when Jared's trying to sell. Chill, dude. He still bought from me. How much? It's in the book. He might not next time. Dude, ever since you got back, you're so much more assertive. The unknown voice doesn't respond. Jeremy speaks up again. So, what happened with Juan? We just talked, He wants to be a baker. He said next time we meet, he'll bring me some guava campechanas. Those are those apple turnover looking things, right? God, I'm hungry. Oh, that sounds so good, Jeremy. Why'd you have to bring up apple turnovers? Well, that's sort of what campechanas are. You brought them up, Heather. I'm butchering that word. Jeremy laughs in his trademark bassy and abrupt titter. Are you going to give Juan your cherry pie next time you see him, too? What? Huh? I don't know how to cook. I don't even have a stove. Fuck me. The voice groans. It's slang for vagina. You know, a slice of cherry pie. I wouldn't put my junk into a vagina that looked like a slice of cherry pie. You're gross. What? He said it. You both are. Heather says this with a snooty flair, though it's subverted by her voice's more dopey, childish undertone. I need to get out of this town. You haven't even been back that long. Are you upset about the dreams again? Yeah, the dreams and shit are getting worse. But it's other stuff too, okay? You just need to relax, dude. Smoke some, you know? That's what works for me when I get them. I'm trying not to use up the stuff I'm trying to sell. I gotta save up, you know? Everyone around here seems to be losing their shit. More so than usual. Plus that fucking bear leering around here all the time. Brian keeps pushing me to sell this cut injectable stuff. Won't tell me what it is. Really? There's a pause in the conversation. Keith wants to say hi to his mom before work. What? Keith wants to say hi to his mom before work. Heather. Keith wants to say hi to his mom before work. What's wrong with her? Why are you saying that, Heather? An increasing sense of urgency takes hold in Jeremy's usually calm, lackadaisy tone. Keith. You mean Keith from... Heather begins to sob. Her crying is sputtering and wet. I can hear it from here. Oh, God. Heather, dude, what's wrong? She continues bawling, her whining cry increasingly shrill and choked. Oh my God. Heather! I can't deal with this right now. Micah, give her a joint. Micah? What? What? I'm not giving her any of more mine. She's probably pulling the shit just to get more. Dude, now. I've got some of mine in the mini storage out back. Just hurry, okay? Fuck. Okay. Hearing footsteps, my heart lurches. I move back around to the other side of the structure, praying that my clumsy otter self is actually stealthy for once in my life. However, it isn't long before I see him around the same corner I just did. What in the goddamn shit? Micah's big eyes widen in alarm. The words catch in his throat, higher pitched than his others. There is a pause, and having been caught, I haven't got a clue of what to say. Well, shit, it really is you, he mutters, his face taking a more stern expression. What? What the fuck are you doing here, schizo? I'm jolted for a moment, that being something that I haven't been called in years. I swallow, crossing my arms, trying to look nonchalant. Looking for Jeremy. Thought you fucked off to college like the rest. I thought you disappeared back in '08. A quiet huff escapes the small bat. Well, I'm here now. Heather's crying can still be heard in the background, her banshee-like wails providing an odd ambiance to this reunion. Why do you need to see Jeremy? I'm looking for Carl. An indiscernible expression takes hold upon Micah's face, intense with his glaze flicking to his surroundings. Rich Goat ain't here. Why? Is Leo with you? No. Suddenly, Jeremy approaches from around the corner. Dude, what is taking... What the hell? The stout Fennec's turquoise eyes bulge. He's much more round than I remember him, looking like a mix of Jenna with Carl's body. Schizo's here. Oh, Jesus. Where's the wolf? He says he's not here. Guys, I'm looking for Carl. Even the police are searching for him now. Micah tenses the hell up at that information, his standoffish demeanor completely gone. One of the few people he talked to before he went missing around midnight was you, Jeremy. Have any idea where he could have gone? Jeremy stares ahead at me blankly. There's a certain warmth that Jenna possesses to her gaze that her brother completely lacks in. I look at Jeremy now, and all I can see are the times he threatened me over stuff I didn't do, called me a faggot, and hit me. Yet there's definitely something different in his demeanor than I remember. He's less intense. Schizo, I'd tell you if I knew. I just hooked him up yesterday, like a quarter mile from his house. Ever since he crashed his ride, he makes me come out here to him when he wants to buy. So he didn't mention anything about running off? I can't see Carl running. Why the hell would he want to when he's got everything he'd ever want in the castle? The castle. Which is why it's worrying that he isn't there. Did it look like somebody broke in? No. Oh. You didn't give him anything laced, did you? I don't really know how that works. No, it's the same stuff I smoke. That's not that reassuring, but I nod regardless. Well, thanks. We're staying at Carl's if you hear anything. Or see him around somewhere. Jeremy frowns, canting his head to the side. We? Is Jenna with you? Yeah. Jeremy's frown deepens, but he doesn't look exactly angry or anything. Oh. There is a pause of silence, punctuated by a choked sob from Heather behind the house. How's she doing? The usual. Better than everyone else. Jeremy's frown shifts to a lopsided smile, the fox even grinning for a second. One of his front teeth is chipped in half. Sounds about right. Mike is looking over his shoulder. Gonna get that joint now. He sidesteps, grunting as he passes. Nice soul patch, fag. Okay, are we going to snap back or say nothing? Micah moves on toward the mini storage without incident. I feel a boiling in my cheeks. My fists begin to clench. We're adults. Why the hell do they still treat me like this? This must be how TJ feels. Jeremy watches Micah for a moment before scratching his gut. His eyes are upon me now. Yeah, you should go now? Oh, yeah. I'll let Jenna know that everything is, all good here. Jeremy just stares at me, then walks back to Heather. She's still crying. Thursday. Hold up. Was there something in the background? Hold the fuck up. Let me turn off my light so there's, like, no glare. Oh, hell no. There is. Hell no. That is fucked. What the fuck is that? Okay, you're back. Hey. What? Who the fuck is this? So you are leaving, running off to fuck some other wolf? It's a joke. Calm down. Yo, is this Shadow Chase? Wait, who's your favorite character? Shadow Chase or Neferu? Like, in the corner. We were just trying to have some fun. I was starting to realize that this probably wasn't the best time, but... Oh, nice! So you're playing the stupid game of keeping me guessing whether or not you're going to ditch me next year, and then you pull this shit? Outside. Honestly, I feel that. The hell is wrong with you? Me? You know, I told her that there was no way in hell you'd fall for this since you already knew how I felt about you. I'm the one that should be fucking offended that you'd think that. That's not fair. You wanted a reaction from me and you got one. Happy? Hold up. His eyes are, like, changing. What's wrong? This was your idea? The phone clutched in the hand disappears. It's a prank. Making me think I just lost my otter is a prank? If this is a fucking joke, then you need to learn how to make one first. Why don't you learn how to take one? How was I supposed to take that? Just laugh and shrug and say, well, fuck, so much for that. Is that what you expected? Actually, we just thought you wouldn't fall for it. At least not this hard. I mean, come on. I cropped that from the cover of some teen magazine. It was my number 2 if you didn't notice. It just wasn't a good time, alright? No? No. What the hell are you doing here anyway? Semester ended last week. So you're staying at home for the summer? Of course not. I'm staying with Emily. You need to calm down, Leo. How can we ever have fun if you're exploding all the time? Telling me to calm down is the worst thing you can do right now. I'm tired, I'm hot, and I just wanted to have lunch with him. You're overreacting. Yo. Hold up. I'm going to Pueblo, Leo. That was a little creepy. I stare through the grainy darkness. The motel room air is dry and stuffy. The air conditioner must be off. I look over. TJ is next to me in bed. He's curled up in a fetal-like position, his knees raised and his tail between his... That is adorable. That is fucking adorable. TJ doesn't usually sleep like that. Leo lays in the bed across from us. He's laying on his back, his form perfectly still. There are no covers on him, and he's still in his jeans from yesterday. Neither of them are snoring, or even audibly breathing for that matter. It takes me a moment, but I can't actually tell if Leo's eyes are closed or not. I pictured in my mind him slowly turning his head, looking right at me with no expression. He has no eyes, they're just shadows. I blink, trying to shift my legs beneath the sheets. Fortunately, I can. I'm not dreaming anymore. Leo isn't actually looking at me. Why did I even think that? And why does it make me so unnerved? In that dream, Jesus. I slide my feet out from under the covers and sit upright on the edge of the bed. Maybe a splash of water will make me feel better, though I could really use a dip in an actual pool. At Pueblo, there's so many of them around, I take it all for granted. The realization dawns on me that once I graduate, the chances of me being able to afford a place with one nearby are almost none. I wring my tail some in my paws, my fur is oily and damp. I'll definitely need to take a shower in the morning. Hell, if the motel tub didn't look like it had seen 20 years of dirty feet, piss, and cum, I'd take a bath. But first, I've got to get that AC going. I walk over to the wall-mounted AC by the window. I'm surprised this place doesn't use swamp coolers like every other home in Echo. It takes a second for my eyes to adjust to the darkness, but I manage to find and turn the control knobs. Despite cranking the thing to max setting, only a petty stream of air is exuded from the front vents. It is cold though, so there's that. I stick my face up to it, the blowing air on my whiskers making my jowls rise instinctively. It's refreshing, and the world seems a little less hazy. Still, I feel gross, more so than usual. I remember on Saturday morning I woke up super early to clean myself, trim my facial scruff, and and just look as presentable as possible. I don't really know who I was trying to impress, maybe show everyone that I was all well adjusted and normal now. All the grooming work I performed didn't last 4 hours in the hot car ride up to Echo, though. Especially when the AC went out all the way from Gulch City to Route 93. I wasn't even really excited to be here in the first place. It just happened to coincide with my project schedule, and Leo was very insistent. I can't exactly blame him for trying. Rose-tinted glasses and all that sort of thing. As much as I hate Echo, the moments of hanging with the group growing up are still some of the best I've ever had. Even counting recent college happenings. We were all friends, but that friendship came with a lot of serious weight to it. Baggage that was never unpacked, I guess. I didn't honestly expect us to even try to. Flynn had other plans, and who could blame him either? After that, Leo's freakout and Carl going missing, any sort of semblance of a fun, idle spring break is gone. It's like there's this buzzing tension in the air, methane filling up a room just waiting for the lighting of a match. God, and here I am, whining about how the mood is ruined when my old best friend is just fucking gone. What the hell was I expecting? Us two all just hang up a bunch of Christmas lights in Leo's backyard, grill up some carne asada, get drunk, and dance to a bunch of indie playlists? And of course, I'd fantasized about some sort of brief reunion with Leo. I mean, that's natural, right? What I didn't expect was this whole thing with Jenna. I'm still sorting out how I feel about it all. I glance briefly to my camera bags at the end of my bed. I have a feeling I'm not going to get much done for my project. With some reluctance, I pull my face back from the cooling vents and head to the bathroom. This is just Leo's bathroom. I try to shut the door behind me quickly, but it's still pretty loud. I look at the sink and realize that it isn't going to cut it. I tug off my shirt and underwear, then place them on the edge of the counter. At home, I just throw them on the floor, but I don't really trust how clean the linoleum is here. I step into the shower. It gets hot quick, so I fiddle with the handle some. There's some red fur tucked in the corner, so I'm guessing Leo took one earlier as well. He was worried the police would come by his place, so he insisted on staying here while we search for Carl. Bro. I remember him and I used to take hour-long showers together back when my family was out of town. My parents had one of those walk-in Roman-style showers with marble tile. He thought it was the coolest thing. I bent down and picked up the tiny complimentary shampoo bottle from the rack and began to lather the contents into my fur. It's not exactly the best for specifically my type of fur, but it'll work for now. I bet Jenna would have loved that shower. She had to use an outdoor one for most of her life, as I recall. I think she lives off campus now in a studio apartment she picked out. I've never actually seen it. She probably splurged with her full ride money and got something really nice. Bet it beats the hell out of communal dorm showers, which are not as sexy as porn makes you believe. I begin lathering further down, and the mental image of Jenna's golden form slick with water sticks in my head. I cut myself, squeezing a bit. I'm starting to get hard. The smooth pink flesh is a sharp contrast from the rest of my fur, and I quickly cover it in my pod and keep it from the hot water. Jenna's seen me naked plenty of times, but mostly as a kid, and never stiff and ready quite like this. My heart thuds a little harder in my chest. I close my eyes, hoisting my arm up against the shower wall and resting my forehead against it. I can't believe I'm doing this right now, with everything going on. I don't think he's going to, because, he's too busy sleeping like the adorable cinnamon roll he is. Maybe I'll feel better afterwards. Jenna has that effect on people, after all. I feel myself smiling a bit, swaying my tail some as I begin to pump away. Okay, wow. Just, wow. I really liked the music, but just wow. I step out of the bathroom in my towel. I wasn't expecting to take a shower when I first went to the bathroom, so I didn't bring a change of clothes in with me. Creeping over on the pads of my feet, I disrobe and quickly begin to put on a fresh t-shirt and shorts for my bed. That's just perfect timing. Chase? TJ and Leo are no longer in bed. The lynx is over by the light switch, squinting blearily at me. Well, Leo blinks at me. Buenos dias. I quickly try to scamper on the rest of my shorts, foregoing underwear for the time being. Oh, geez. Sorry, Chase. TJ turns, quickly averting his gaze. Leo just sighs some, rubbing his eyes. Thanks for the show. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. You don't have the right to talk right now. Just shut the fuck up. Your phone was going off while you were in the shower. My cheeks feel a bit warm as I manage to finally get my shorts up to my waistline. Oh, who called? Leo stares blankly at me, looking more tired than any of us. I wasn't going to check. An uneasy look punctuates that comment, and it catches me a little off guard. Can I turn around now? Yes, TJ. Thank you. The lynx uncovers his eyes and moves to the bed, sitting back down. He looks like he hasn't fully woken up yet. Sorry for waking you guys. I was really needing a shower. Otter stuff, It's okay, Chase. You kind of woke me up for some pretty weird dreams. So, thank you. He manages a smile, still trying to blink the blurriness out of his eyes by the looks of it. His irises begin to narrow back to a more slitted stare. No problem, TJ. I actually should be getting back out there. It's 3:30 in the morning. Are you sure? I finish putting on my shirt and move to check my phone. Yeah, I'm sure. Man, when I find that goat, I swear to God. He stretches some before stifling a yawn. Not gonna let him out of my sight for a month. It's a text from Jenna. Hi, Chase. I can't sleep, so I'm heading back to the motel. If you're up, do you want to go out looking with me? I am feeling a little better after my shower, so I send Jenna a quick text agreeing to help with the search. What does it say? TJ cants his head, peering at me with a sort of dazed, curious look. Jenna was having trouble sleeping, so she wants to go out searching. Leo looks up at me, his expression indiscernible. Isn't it kind of dark to try and look for him? I mean, not that I'm trying to dissuade you all, just seems kind of harder. It's that whole 48 hours thing. The harder we look now, the better. Sitting back and praying everything will work out won't do any good. TJ's eyes widen some, looking a bit taken aback. His jowls twitch some, the feline looking down at the sheets between his legs. There's a knock at the door. The sound of jingling keys can be heard coming from the other side. There's a scratching noise of metal on metal, the door being unlocked. After a moment, it opens. Oh, it's Jenna. Obviously, it's the greatest time. At 3 a.m. in a ghost town. Jenna steps out from the darkness, rubbing her arms some and making a beeline for her bag. Hey, TJ, Chase, Leo. She nods to each of us in turn before beginning to rifle through her belongings. Aren't you supposed to be keeping watch at the house? Aren't you supposed to be in jail? TJ makes a noise that sounds like he just choked in his own spit. I try to avoid looking directly at Leo. He doesn't say anything, though I hear the bed he's sitting on creak audibly. She takes out 2 water bottles, tossing one to me. I only barely catch it, mainly because it's stopped by my nose first. Ow. My snout tingles with the aftershock. My nose feels wet for some reason, though when I reach up, there's no blood. Must be the burst blood vessels. Oh. She stifles a brief, amused huff, looking apologetic. You're still trying to wake up, I see. You think that's funny, just walking in and hitting him with that? Leo's crackling baritone comes out a few decibels too loud. His tone stern, like a scolding parent. Leo, just shut the fuck up. Your anger is why the cops are looking for you, and that's not good. It has a way of catching everyone's attention. That wasn't the intent. There's a pause. Leo about to speak again, but Jana managing to cut him off before he can. Speaking of, we're going to go check in with Duke, see if he knows anything. Leo's jaw shifts as if trying to speak, but the words don't come out. He leans back, then forward again. Have fun. Chase, you all set? She looks at me expectant. I guess she's ready to go. Oh, yeah, sure. I force a smile, trying to downplay the cavalcade of tension this room has become. Goodbye, guys. See you later. TJ seems to be doing the same. Leo just stares. We'll text with some updates in a bit. Jenna pats my shoulder once before heading out. I follow suit. The air is surprisingly fresh outside, even a bit damp. It's as if the motel room itself had its own oppressive atmosphere that was permeating my sinuses, and now I'm finally free. Near the horizon, thick gray clouds loom overhead. The reservation must be getting some rain. Jenna seems to notice as well, taking a few steps forward into the mostly empty parking lot before speaking up. Kinda nice out, isn't it? Yeah. She opens her mouth to speak, but pauses some as she looks over her shoulder, a light frown crossing her blonde features. Come on, let's go. She starts moving again, heading toward the street. Duke's house, right? And we're walking? Yeah. Is that a problem? She glances back. I reach down, feeling the tender, hardening muscles around my thighs and knees. Just a little bit sore from the hike, that's all. Oh, you're a tough guy, Chase. I'm sure you'll manage. A tough guy? I hustle some to catch up, the Fennec already on the road. She smiles some as I catch up alongside her. Your phone has a flashlight, right? Yeah. Oh, give me a sec. I reach in my pocket and flick on my phone. It takes a second, but I find the right button. The cracked pavement in front of us quickly illuminated. Just in case we come across any snakes or spiders. Or overweight rams. Those two. I shine my phone toward the sagebrush that winds along the narrow wash that passes by the motel. It's like I'm half expecting to see Carl's goofy, grinning muzzle peeking out through the brambles. I'm sorry if I woke you. It's fine. I was in the shower. You woke everyone else, though. Jenna straightens her tank top, peering through the cracked glass of the old ice cream shop. Even the for lease sign on the awning is mostly faded away. It's got that old Victorian-style architecture that you see in a lot of the buildings built originally by the wealthier settlers of the turn of the century. Faded green and pale blue paint still clings to parts of the main facade, with the copper metal roof a mix of dark amber and turquoise. In its heyday, it probably stood out something fierce, a colorful contrast to the harsh beiges of the desert, and ultimately, an opulent reminder of the old world amidst the new. I wasn't expecting Leo to be there, honestly. He's giving you any more trouble? I watched the pavement turn to packed dirt beneath my feet, as we round the corner onto Gretchen Road. It's a desolate stretch of road, the only striking feature being a concrete mixing business that closed its doors back in the 90s. You can still see the big mounds of grayish dirt past the slatted chain link. Ultimately, it takes me a moment to respond to Jenna's question. No, he's, just upset. I can practically feel the fox's incredulous raised eyebrow, a trademark reaction if she ever had one. Actually, well, this is going to sound stupid. Playing Leo's behavior off as him being just upset is stupid, but continue. I sigh. Sorry. Jenna frowns some and moves closer, nudging my arm with her shoulder. Hey, you haven't done anything wrong. I don't know about that. Oh? Again, that expectant look. Ugh, here we go. I'm kinda glad you texted me. Didn't really want to go back to sleep. I guess I was having a nightmare. The same sort of recurring one I've been having that's a little different each time. Each dream I'm facing myself, but it's not me. Not like a mirror me. Things are different, messed up, blurred. Sometimes it speaks and it's all distorted, like an old AM radio station with bad signal. Jenna looks away for a moment, then back to me. Each time, it gets a little clearer. It might just be because it's fresh in my head right now, but I kinda remember what it was saying. I stopped briefly, shining the flashlight on a tumbleweed rolling across the dirt road ahead. It briefly gets stuck on a mesquite tree, bouncing against the trunk and leaving a few twigs behind before rolling back along its course. Do you remember when I texted you that I got into Pueblo and you drove all the way back down here to celebrate? I do. We were going to surprise Leo, remember? I do. There's a delay in her words as she seems to already know exactly what incident I'm referring to. The prank. She lets out a long, drawn-out breath of air. You pretended you were cheating on him with those fake texts I was sending you. He smashed your phone and you told him you were leaving Echo. Yes, it wasn't the best of practical jokes to play on someone who was already fairly unstable. He wasn't. Chase, what does this have to do with your dream? She cuts me off, her tone more curious than stern. I know, it's just the whole thing was just playing back like some kind of record. Everything that happened. All the fake text messages you sent me as Jared, me leaving the phone on the table, Leo confronting me, then you showing up and telling him it's a joke, that he's overreacting, and then smash. I make a motion like I'm going to toss my phone down. Jenna flinches, instinctively grabbing for it before slowly furrowing her thin brows at me. Has Leo been guilty about that? No, not really. So you've been feeling guilty then? I guess. Why else would this be, manifesting in my subconscious and all that? Well, I'd usually recommend expressing this to Leo, if I didn't think that your attempts at reconciliation would be perceived by him as you trying to get back together. She rubs the bridge of her short nose before crossing her arms over her chest. We did already apologize for this years ago, but if you absolutely must, maybe wait until we're back in Pueblo. He's clearly got some issues to sort out right now, and you're under absolutely no obligation to try and solve them, especially considering his recent behavior. It's incredibly difficult to help people that don't want to be helped. Do we agree or disagree with Jenna? What the fuck? I'm not gonna lie, the music does kind of slap. You're probably right. She gives me a sidelong look. I mean, you are right. I rub my paw across my face, smushing my own facial features into my paw pads. It's just shitty, I guess. You know someone for 15 years of your life and grow up with them. There's a vested interest. I was there for every big mistake, triumph, you name it. I'm not sure what exactly further support I can even offer at this point. It's just been too long. Plus, I'm gone again as soon as this weekend's up, so what's the point when I'm probably just going to fuck things up worse? Chase. Jenna's tone is curt, and I look over to see her face very much matches her tone. Leo was dry humping you at a kiddie arcade. You do not need to feel this conflicted about being upset about that. Look, there's a moment of hesitation, like she knows the right words to say, but needs time to phrase them more delicately. I understand that men have a different hormonal attraction to each other than generally what I feel, as a woman, when I am attracted to someone. For men, that feeling of attraction, and I am paraphrasing something you probably already understand on at least an intuitive level, is broadly more physical and sudden. There's an emphasis on aesthetics and, well, the mechanics of what's happening. I blink, getting the gist of what she's saying, but not exactly sure where she's going with this. As stereotypical as it is, most women feel attraction as a sort of slow burn, where passion is derived from intimacy, meaning, contrast, forbidden love, etc. She gesticulates in a swirling motion. That's not to say abrupt sparks of fantasy don't form for women too, urges being what they are. So I may not be adequately equipped to fully grasp the true nature of your guys' relationship, but what Leo did at the family plex is just beyond dumb, latent horniness. It's complete detachment from reality, of you two's respective situations. Jenna's voice raises some, louder than her usual controlled level, and probably inappropriate for this time of night. It's upsetting, especially so with all that's going on. I continue to walk slightly ahead of Jenna, unsure of what to say and feeling like if I met her gaze right now, I'd regret it. I shine my light on a lone desert willow that sits on the bank of a nearby wash. In the branches, flickers of reflected light shine back. Eyes. They're small and sitting squarely in a nest made from bramble, like that of the tumbleweed from earlier. Bird, I announce, monotoned. Jenna steps up beside me, hands on her hips, as she looks where I'm not pointing. She exhales with some exasperation before responding. Yeah. Looks like a wren. How can you tell? As far as I know, Jenna was never much into nature or animals. Wrens are the really fat ones, rotund. She pushes her small hands together, making a circle to emphasize the roundness. Her eyes must be better than mine because I can only just barely make out the beak. I look back at Jenna and she's still staring up at the tree. Something about the whole scene of it gives me this strange twinge of nostalgia. Us wandering aimlessly about Echo with nowhere to go and nothing to do. And how we thought that feeling would last forever. Is it just me, or is this conversation kind of familiar? Not the bird, I mean. You and I walking around talking about stupid things Leo was doing? Yeah, that's not too out of the ordinary. She smiles some, and I can't help but smile back. Yeah, that and... God, do you remember showing me those Yaoi comics you got from the mall? Oh yes, I hid them under a rock like half a mile from my house. I had to fight a scorpion to get you your Koko Tanuki issues. I think that's how you pronounce it. Jenna lets out an amused noise, shaking her head. Actually, I'm curious about something real quick. Holy shit. Okay, so I can, modify Renpai script in here. But I'm not going to. While my relationships with the rest of the group, besides Leo, had mainly stayed the same after they found out I liked guys, Jenna and I actually grew more close after the fact. Despite not really being too into anime, talking to her about manga and the dumb romance stuff in them was always kind of fun. My hero. I sort of remember discussing the differences between yaoi and bara. You talking just now kind of reminded me of that. Saying those two words out loud feels weird. Boys love and man's love, right? I do remember that, Chase. I'm a little surprised you do. That jump scared me. Are you talking about, the Renpai script? How I brought it up? She says this with a forced, teasing tone to her voice for some reason. Oh, I'm sorry. I was curious because, in Adastra, it isn't as sudden. So, yeah. I cant my head curiously toward her. Why wouldn't I? I really enjoyed all that. Talking with you about it, I mean. I'm so sorry about showing the Renpai script. Truly? I suppose I thought I was only being humored for my special interest topics that the rest of you were not remotely as interested in. It's a little creepy now that I think about it in context. I'll wave dismissively. No, I mean, you weren't a fan, Yoshi, or anything. Hell, you should have seen all that sort of yaoi junk Leo kept on his computer. Fujoshi and really? Sure, whatever. And yeah, he was pretty into the more porny stuff. Okay, we went from talking about a bird to talking about porn. Because that makes sense. Jenna laughs some. Most yaoi is written by women who've never met a gay guy before, and is full of gender-imprinted uke-seme tropes and dubious consent. Hey, sometimes that's hot. I'm surprised the words leave my mouth, and I immediately feel a burn around the edges of my ears. Jenna looks at me. I can't quite read her expression now in the darkness, though I'm not about to shine the flashlight on her. Yeah, that's part of why we read it. As long as it's understood as fantasy and not normalcy. Of course. I nod. But to take this back to reality for a second, no one should be forcing themselves on you like that, no matter what they see in the porn or how long I've known you. Right, I appreciate the concern. I nod again at Jenna, who returns to scanning the nearby underbrush. However, I can't help but feel at least a little like I'm being treated like some battered victim here. Maybe I'm just too numb these days to feel like I probably should. The road turns back into chipped asphalt as we get closer to the old rail yard. The tracks to which run directly behind Leo and Duke's backyard. Not that they'd seen any use in decades. Most of the houses down the road are newer, and the county even installed a streetlight after an old badger lady got hit by a car 5 years ago. That being said, most of the residences stand vacant now, in various states of disrepair. As we round a bend, I spot Leo's house down the way. It's a little ranch-style house with a big backyard, right off a dirt road leading from the street. It used to be his family's home before they moved out. No cop cars parked out front or anything. Not that I really expected there to be. Oh hey, I love this illustration. It's epic. And getting like weirdly Shuzo Oshimi watercolor painting vibes from it, and that's awful. Jenna slows for a moment, peering over her shoulder. Her senses are better than mine, so I lessen my pace as well, trying to listen carefully. It's dead silent beyond the usual desert ambience. The rustle of breeze-swept trees, chirping crickets, and tweets from local nightbirds. I turn back to look at her. What? She frowns to herself. Nothing. Wait, did you hear something? She shakes her head, rubbing her wrist as she refocuses her attention back on me. No, just some unexpected nostalgia. At least the town has working lamp. Yeah, at least it does. I smile some. Glad I'm not the... Oh, what for? I can't exactly place it. It's just a feeling. Almost sort of like what people call deja vu. Ah. I nod sagely, pretending to understand. She watches me for a moment as if studying my features for something deeper. I watch her as well, the golden glow of the street lamp giving her veil a pale radiance, blurring her features into something warm and familiar. Her bushy tail sways, and I can see the light plumes of desert dust scatter away on the asphalt beneath. They dissipated to the air like smoke from a cigarette. When we were younger, we had many nights like this, walking to and from Leo's place. Most of the time, we'd be chatting about video games we'd been playing or some manga that Jenna had gotten into. Looking back, I could tell she savored those times. The fleeting moments she had away from home, where she could express her passions without fear of judgment or ridicule. Well, occasionally there'd be ridicule, but of the good faith sort, I think. Whenever she criticized some dumb thing I said or weird-ass phase I was going through, it never felt like she thought lesser of me. She suffered through my late 2000s frosted tip highlights scene phase, after all. She just was trying to encourage me to be a better person. Those long walk and talks we had were like ways to gauge our own small town induced insanity. It was during those times I felt more secure in myself than I ever did elsewhere. But it's also when we understood we truly didn't belong here. I can't help but wonder if that's what she's thinking of now. She smiles once, then picks up the pace again. I step up and match her speed. I hope Duke still works late shifts. I recall him being quite nocturnal when we were growing up. He works at the Blue Diamond Casino by the reservation, right? Mm-hmm, as far as I remember. Yeah. I used to think that only native people could get jobs there. I know they try to keep it that way, but many of the locals in the res lack the skill set or training for some of the jobs. Hence, the outsourcing. I think Duke works, or at least worked, as a security technician. Huh. I guess I didn't know him that well. Me neither. He was friends with my father. I can see Duke's house now. A large manufactured home that's raised up like 3 feet off the ground. I think Flynn told me once they made him raise it up since it sat in the flood zone for the nearby wash. Said wash pretty much never had water in it, except for one particular monsoon season where flash floods sent white water currents down it. It all drains out into Lake Emma. It's difficult to see in the dark, but the house looks to be in a bit of a sorry state. The yard is overgrown with tall weeds, and there's a bunch of stripped bicycle parts and other electronic components strewn about. Jenna sees it too and lets out an audible hum as if acknowledging some confirmed suspicion. I'm about to ask her what's up when she speaks again. You know, my grandma never left the reservation, no matter how bad it got down there. I used to visit her a lot before she got sick. Oh? There's something about the tone in her voice that makes me think I should stop walking. I turn and focus on her. I don't believe any of you guys ever met her. She was probably the most down-to-earth member of my family, despite genuinely believing in a lot of the old spiritual aspects of the Masita culture. Like rain dances. Jenna gives me a look that makes me immediately regret speaking, my tail curling instinctively. You're thinking of the Pescoa tribe. They're the ones that did the dancing around the bonfire bit that gets attributed to every native culture for some reason. Right, my bad. I give her a little thumbs up of understanding. I must look especially scorned, because Jenna begins to snicker a little. She reaches over, pushing my thumb down and squeezing my fist. Her grasp is incredibly soft, and I feel myself longing for it as she lets go. Hey, you're a college-educated journalist now. You can't get away with the cute ignorance anymore. I've got one more year left of that, actually. I say that with a faux defensive tone. I guess I should hold on to staying cute as long as I can. Oh, that's easy, Chase. All you have to do is lose the goatee. Okay. I'm just going to say this. Let me bring up this and just hide the text in there. Just looking at this, I think... let me also bring up the original design real quick. Like, the original Chase design. I go... There it is. Game. Images. Here we go. Like, okay, in my opinion, they sort of just twinkified him. Like, this is the 2020 design for Chase, which I feel like is more recent. But no, you cannot lie and say that they definitely twinkified him. They twinkified that man. All you have to do is lose the goatee. What? Oh, come on. I reach up and grab the dyed piece of facial scruff, and a bubbling sense of self-consciousness burns at my cheeks. Jenna laughs some more. I'm just kidding. I know Leo wasn't a fan of it, though. He told me as much. I let out a bit of a defeated noise. For some reason, that also kind of stings. Jenna waves dismissively, trying to get back to what she was saying. She seems serious about getting what she has to say off her chest. Anyway, Grandma had all this ham radio equipment in her house. She started collecting it after Grandpa died, which was long before I was born. She was really into technology and broadcasting, which admittedly was an oddball contrast from her more spiritual, tradition-based outlook on life. She crosses her arms, taking a glance inside an old parked pickup truck that's missing its plates on the side of the road. I shined my phone's flashlight inside it, but there's just a bunch of bags of what looks like farming stuff, mainly fertilizer. I remember thinking it was neat. She used to sit on her porch with her quilting gear and talk on the radio to passing truckers. Wow, really? I start to picture an old native woman who looks like Jenna, knitting needles in one paw and a radio mic in the other. Yeah, her radio had pretty good range. She did this for years, got kind of a reputation because of it. Sweetheart of Echo Valley, or something along those lines. Oh, she was like flirting with them? Jenna smirks, lightly shrugging her shoulders. Well, I suppose there was probably some of that. I remember Adam mentioning that occasionally she would find flowers in her post box, sometimes even letters. Grandma was pretty shy, actually, and didn't like how she looked. When she was born, her ears and part of her scalp were malformed. It was at some underfunded tribal clinic up north, so they weren't able to fix it. Didn't get the money for it later in life either. She brings her paws up to her own ears, running her fingers down into the base of her head fur. She always wanted to wear these big sun hats whenever she went somewhere, like she didn't feel right being seen. But over the radio, she would mainly just talk to these truck drivers, ask them about their day and about things that made them happy. Well, it's so sweet. And I remember hearing about this one particular time where she talked with a truck driver who had recently lost his wife in an accident. Naturally, he was very upset and was considering whether life was worth living anymore. So, Grandma told him to pull over and come visit her. He was reluctant at first, but he did. Grandma got together with all the other old neighbor ladies and rolled out this big ancient grill from the 60s. They baked a bunch of fry bread and cooked up a ton of tacos. She even went out and personally got the ingredients to make some homemade cookies, since he mentioned he liked those over the radio. When he got there, she taught him how to make all the food himself. She was worried without a wife, he wouldn't know how to cook something decent on his own. She also went around and introduced him to everyone, treated him like a guest of honor. He was this little rat guy, really meek. At first, he was worried he was being awkward and was out of place, but they talked for hours and hours, way into the night. His wife and him had been together for 18 years. She was an art teacher at an elementary school in Two Canyons. So before he left, she and him made a sand painting. A sand painting? I'm reluctant to interrupt, but I've never heard of that before. It's a painting in sand, usually done with pigments. What's interesting is they're not really art objects. They're for helping people heal, to become better. Once painted, the person who needs the healing would sit in the center of the painting. The energy and goodwill that was put into the painting was to help the person in need, healing spirits and that sort of thing. I know, nowadays you mainly see them framed up in roadside craft sales, but that's what they were originally for. So, Jenna trails off and I look away as she clears her throat. She takes a slow breath and it takes her just a second to continue. Her parents weren't there at Grandma's funeral. It was at some public meeting building out in Peyton for some reason. From my family, it was just Adam and I. Adam? Really? Yes, this was a long while ago, before he started changing. We were nearly a third of the way through the service when the rat guy shows up, and I have to ask Adam who he is. The only people there up to that point were us foxes. After that, I started noticing more non-foxes coming in. Some were literally wearing those stereotypical trucker hats with the holy bits in the back. And of course, half of the people there were really confused who these guys were. Like maybe they were at the wrong funeral? They just sat in the back, and then Adam went up to speak. She folds her arms tighter across her chest, smiling to herself as her gaze flicks upward. Adam stuttered his way through his speech, but at the end of it, he started inviting up the new arrivals in the back. A lot of them were fairly gruff-looking guys, you know? And one by one, they get up and start reading letters. She pauses again. Letters thanking her for being so kind, for giving them someone to talk to about their problems, or just being so witty and fun to speak to. The rat guy, God, I wish I remembered his name, went up last, and his letter addressed Grandma like she was still there with us. He talked about how he was doing, how tough things were after what happened. He mentioned his wife by name, about how losing someone so good and special can make it feel like the world had become so much darker. But how it's always important to remember that there are still good people out there, even if they're just someone who can lend an ear for a while. And I felt like he was actually talking to us, about Grandma. I thought about that a lot when, Adam passed. Who is Adam? about how maybe it wasn't just a chemical imbalance and perhaps he just needed someone to talk to. She keeps her arms still tight over her torso, though it looks more now like a self-bracing measure, a far cry from her usual standoffish posturing. I also thought about how you're so goddamn alone out here. She gestures with both arms to her surroundings. I peer down at myself, then back to Jenna. Let me Google it real quick, because I feel like Adam's just going to keep popping up. Okay. Adam Begay. Okay. Fuck. Fucking. Adam Begay was Jenna's older brother. According to Jenna, he got worse over time due to their parents' abuse and committed suicide sometime prior to the events of Echo. Aside from Jenna herself, Adam was the only member of Jenna's family to attend their grandmother's funeral. Aww. That's so sad. I peer down at myself, then back to Jenna. She lets out a little noise. That sounds like a quick sigh before shaking her head. Bro, were you here for, like, part of Leo's route? Like the whole, football field thing? Because I swear to God, like, even the, epilogue of that route, and now the football field, it hurt so much. She lets out a little noise that sounds like a quick sigh before shaking her head. Not you specifically, but rather anyone stuck in this place. What is it with Echo and taking away all that's good? She's looking at me now, but I might as well be a brick wall for how equipped I am to answer that question. Feels almost rhetorical in nature. Something with so many reasons that you could apply that it becomes simply too much to try and put into words. I sheepishly hold up an arm. Would it be too patronizing? Too much of the stereotypical guy thing to reach out to her now? It's a moment of vulnerability from someone who's cultivated a life's worth of being invulnerable. I suppose we've all got heavy shit under the surface. Jenna, probably most of all. And while some of us sort of downplay it, jokes, self-deprecation, and lashing out at others, Jenna's always kept it under said surface. Seeing this all brought to light feels like something raw, uncomfortable, something understood to be immovable being moved. I look past Jenna to the wash, like the desert flooding. I exhale, looking back down to her. I can feel my mind going blank, like it did earlier. Her expression's indiscernible, but she's still looking at me. Okay, what do we want to say to Jenna? Because holy shit. Do you want a Chad ending or beta bad ending? Okay, I don't know. I think there's only like one ending for Jenna's route, for Jenna's route. I don't know if it has an epilogue either. I doubt it does. Actually, let me Google that real quick. Okay. Okay. I believe the ending split off during your walk with Jenna. Okay. Okay, I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to get both endings because... Okay, I'm going to save here. We are definitely not done, but I'm saving here so that way I don't have to do a whole lot. So, do we want to go for the good ending or the bad ending first? Okay. I can't remember what it was that I have to choose. So let me hop back onto Reddit real quick. Okay. This town breaks people. I know what you mean. I've kind of always had this feeling that there's something about this town that sucks all the hope out of people. And I mean, you can point to the environment, the drugs, the history, or even just like the sheer desolation of it all. But whatever it is, it all adds up to churning out crazy old people and messed up kids. Are you saying we got lucky, or just as sorry as the rest? Not as bad, that's for sure. And I do think I kind of have you to thank for that, in some part. My voice cracks and I try to cover it with a cough. Smooth. Thank you, Chase. Oh, I'm like rereading the chat a bit, and please a good one, my heart can't take it. I think I read somewhere that that the good endings in this game are bittersweet at best. Thank you, Chase. Jenna smiles lightly. And I agree. It's why after this week, I'm never coming back here. In fact, as soon as we find Carl, I'd prefer to leave. I nod. That's fair. I guess I have to ask, what made you think of this? I mean, the story about your grandmother. Was it just talking about tech stuff in the reservation? Jenna ponders this question for a moment, looking a bit more like her usual self. However, there's still a slight unnerved tinge to her, like her tail has an extra bit of bristle to it. I suppose that's what got me talking about her. Though I started thinking about this all earlier. Oh? Up ahead, the screen door on the side of Duke's house flings open. A familiar ash-colored figure peers out, attention focused on us. What are you two doing? He calls out to us, having to shout since we're nearly 3 properties down. At Pueblo, I'd cringe at the idea of someone shouting out this late in a neighborhood. However, most of these houses are long since abandoned. Jenna... Yeah, I get that. Jenna and I exchange a look before making our way closer to respond. The lanky weasel is certainly looking rougher around the edges than I remembered, the old man taking slow steps into his overgrown front yard. Of course he's got his gun on him, his paws gingerly clutching it while the other brandishes a cigarette. Or at least I think it's a cigarette. Real late for a stroll, he mumbles. Duke? Hi, good morning. It's Jenna. Is that Chase with you? I hold up my paw and wave. Hi. It is. Duke takes a drag from the fat cigarette, and I see some embers fling about as he taps the end. In my mind, I imagine one of those little specks of fire catching on the untrimmed grass beneath, setting everything ablaze. I knew it. What Leo's been saying is true. He was seeing shit as well. Confronted him about it, and he got a wild look in his eyes, pushed me into the dirt. But here you are, in the flesh and talking this time. I give him a befuddled look. What's he talking about? Well, Leo's going through a bit of a rough time, and that's certainly no excuse for the violence he imposed against you. However, we did see you at Carl's house, and you might have heard that he's gone missing. What good timing for your arrival then, Jasmine? It's Jenna now, but that's beside the point. His bloodshot eyes shift from me to her, and that makes me even more uneasy. Have you seen Carl since last night? Duke clicks his tongue, shaking his head more times than he really needs to. I don't think you're investigating the right mystery here. Jenna raises an eyebrow. He points a swollen pink finger in my direction, still looking at Jenna. The real question is, why has your friend here been snooping around our houses here for the past month? What? Jenna furrows her brow, a light sigh escaping from between her lips. I don't know what... I feel her hand discreetly reach over and squeeze my side. Hold on, Chase. She mutters, refocusing her attention back on the weasel. Duke, please focus on me for a moment. Listen to the words I am saying. Have you seen Carl since last night? Duke hangs his maw open, rolling his jaw around from side to side until there's an audible click as it locks into place. I don't think you're hearing me. I heard you, Duke. Please, a yes or no answer, and then we can discuss what you saw with Chase here. Duke's bloodshot gaze flicks back to me, and there's something expectant about the look in his eyes, like he's waiting for me to say something revelatory. I have no clue what he's talking about, though, and Jenna doesn't seem to want to give him an inch of leeway to change the topic of conversation. I see his teeth grit past his thin lips. Despite the intensity he's putting off, he looks kind of distracted, like we're only getting about 3/4 of his attention. Maybe it wasn't quite you, though, was it? His voice is strained and quiet. The weasel scratches his inner thigh. I didn't see the ram boy or his little rich parents. Okay, thank you. Chase? Oh, I only got here on Saturday. I wasn't here before then. There's only really one other otter in town, as far as I know, and he probably weighs 150 pounds more than me. So I don't really know who else it could be. Duke just glares in response to that, and I can't help but drift my gaze to the gun he's holding so idly in his grasp. I think he notices, and I see his fingers clench around the base a little tighter. Okay, thank you, Duke. It's really good to see you again. If you have the time, keep an eye out for him, okay? We can't seem to track him down. He's right there. He points to me. No, I'm referring to Carl. Carl's not here. Right. We're going to go look around some more and knock on a few doors once the sun's up. You take care, all right? Before I can so much as raise my paw in farewell, Jen has already turned around and making her way down the street. Again, I have to hustle to catch up. After another half hour or so of searching, we end up heading back to Carl's place. After the whole interview with Duke, she starts ranting a little bit about meth use and the physiological effects. Admittedly, I was only picking up on bits and pieces of what she was saying. Apparently, the drug stimulates the parts of the brain that create urges for tinkering, which is why yards of meth houses often look like scrap yards after extended use. Poor Duke. But the guy always kind of skeeved me out, even back when we were kids. I think he used to have a wife at some point, who I remember being really nice. She used to ride her bike around town all the time, and one day she stopped by to help me set up a root beer float stand. Then one day she just kind of disappeared. Hell, I think I was playing at Leo's house when the cops came to the door and asked if Leo's parents had seen her. Jenny uses her newly acquired spare house key and lets us in. I'd spent so much time in Carl's house growing up that stepping inside always felt kind of like coming home. Carl's parents were never as friendly as Leo's or TJ's, but they were often just straight up absent, which means we got the run of the place. I glance off to the side and notice a divot in the wooden paneling next to the door. Carl slammed his head there when we were roughhousing 6 or 7 years ago. It's a wonder we didn't do more damage. Jenna nudges me with her shoulder and I shift my attention back to her. Hey, I'm going to put something on in the living room. I've been mainly camped up there on the couch with my laptop while you guys were out earlier, trying to get some studying done. Despite the quiet, it's a little difficult to focus with all this going on. So you want to watch some TV? Well, sure. I've got something in mind. She smiles at me, turning tail to head down the hall. I follow suit, briefly considering raiding the cupboards for snacks, but that kind of feels out of line considering the circumstances. Flynn had turned the air conditioning off last night, so we've got the ceiling fan going overhead. It's doing a pretty good job of keeping me cool, the blades spinning so fast they almost look still. When I was a kid, I was always afraid of having my fan on the high setting. The thing would start to wobble and click, and I thought that at any moment it would spin off its socket to come careening right towards me. This one Carl has looks extremely sturdy, though. It kind of looks like it's made out of some sort of brushed copper with a turquoise-painted metal base. It's at this point I realize I'm not doing a good... Oh my god! Is that what that is? Like, up there? Oh my god. I'm not doing a good job of focusing on the anime Jenna put on. I glance over to her, see if she's noticed my wandering gaze, but I see that her eyes are closed. No, is it really Adastra, the best anime? At first I think she's asleep, though they begin to flutter open after some time. She rolls her head and some in my direction, catching my gawking. She smiles lightly, stretching her arms out over her head and letting out a long yawn. What? I put on my best innocent face. Just checking to see if you are as riveted by the ongoing developments of Mr. Wong's fledgling dim sum business. An amused noise escapes between her lips, her left ear twitching some as she stares at the screen with half-lidded eyes. Have the magical demon girls shown up yet? The magical demon what? I thought this was a nice little, what do they call it? A slice of life thing. Well, I suppose that's how they get you. She hums her words, her tone sleepy and warm. They lull you into something calm, low pressure, giving you a chance to really live the setting before they pull the rug out from beneath you. I swear to God that's what they did with the Promised Neverland. I swear to God that's what they did. Mm. Jenna's tone is infectious, and I even start to speak with a sort of rumbling, only half-serious whine. Do they all have to be like that? I mean, what if I just want a quiet, slow burn kind of show? It seems like all of them these days just have fantastical bullshit that comes out of nowhere. On screen, the character of Mr. Wong, a rotund red panda, is cooking a batch of fried rice in a large wok. It's also lovingly animated for something so mundane. You can practically see each individual piece of egg, pepper, and seasoning he's sprinkling on top. Chase, there are plenty of slow burn shows out there. And how would you even know? You told me you don't keep up with this stuff anymore. I mean, I occasionally will put some anime on when I'm bored back at Pueblo. Oh yeah? Well, I guess hanging out with you has made me kind of interested again. Jenna smiles again, and I can see the little tips of her tiny fangs. She shifts in her seat, scooting from her side of the sofa to mine. Her arms wrap around my torso, squeezing me some. Without really thinking, I rest my head against hers and exhale for what seems like ages. I can feel butterflies in my stomach somewhere deep down, the light prickle of goosebumps along my neck. It's so intimate, so beyond the boundaries of closeness that Jenna and I have shared in the past. But it's comfortable, no judgment or pressure. Just two people on the same wavelength, both very tired, stressed out, and kind of slap happy. I watch her chest rise and fall against mine. Her fur so much softer than mine. It's like running her paws through goose down. I slide my fingers around her shoulder and down her arm, then back up again. Is this just platonic? Like one of those cuddly girl slumber party kind of things? We never did anything like this when we were younger, though. The closest thing I can think of is when we shared an air mattress when we went camping for my 16th birthday. Leo having been out of town at the time, of course. You're very cute, Chase. Her words take me by surprise, the compliment so blatant and not something I'd been told in years. It feels like minutes pass before I feel her weight shift beside me. She looks up at me and I look back down to her. Next thing I know, her mouth is pressed against mine. My heart skips in my chest and there's definitely some tightness in my shorts. Her muzzle is small and my tongue easily fills its inside once she opens her lips. We continue for some time, the noise from the TV seeming to fade in the background. It's an unimportant mumbling drowned out by our pounding heartbeats and the whir of the spinning fan above. It isn't until the episode ends and we're left in actual silence that Jenna seems to pause. She pulls back, eyes on my chest, and her expression indiscernible in the new darkness. I am a little concerned about moving forward with this. I've seen how these sorts of things can destroy friendships, and the one I have with you, I truly value. I'm worried we will look at ourselves in the morning, well, in a couple of hours, and be disappointed with ourselves. Wait. I stop for a second, frowning. Are you saying you don't want to, at least in part, because you think I'm going to be bad at it? Jenna doesn't immediately respond. Oh no. I've done it plenty of times. My voice comes out a little louder than expected, and Jenna pushes her paws to my mouth. Hush me. Chase, you're a fucking bottom. I pull her away, repeating myself, but this time more quietly. I'm not bad at sex. I can feel my cheeks burning at this point, Jenna's increasingly amused expression not helping at all. Chase, oh my god. Jenna's shoulders shake as she titters, clearly tickled by how flustered I'm getting. I'm serious. I can see that. That's not exactly what I was getting at, but I am well aware you and Leo snuck off every chance you could get when you were younger. But as you may possibly know, there are several slight differences in anatomy between Leo and I. I continue to frown at her as hard as I can. Okay, don't give me that look. Now I actually feel bad. I grunt quietly. Well, how many guys have you been? You gotta ask me earlier at the diner, so it's only fair, right? After the first year of college, I pretty much lost complete contact with Jenna's social circle. Initially, it was because Carl never wanted to go out, so we mainly just hung about in our dorm. But by the time Carl dropped out, it was like all our social links had been severed. I'd look at the pictures she'd post on her timeline, and I wouldn't recognize anybody she was friends with. It was such a contrast, seeing her at all these fancy events, wearing formal dresses and receiving awards. For a while, I thought she just changed, transformed by college life and the intellectual peers she surrounded herself with. But talking to her again this week, I've come to realize it's not the case at all. She was always that person. It was just everyone else brought her down to our level, I guess. Been with? She leans back, some perking an eyebrow and putting on a professional visage, though she's still got a mirth-laden look in her eyes. Are you asking about dating or sex? Both, I guess. Oh, well, about the same then. 6 or 7. 6.5? Let's just say 6. What happened with number 7? She lets out an amused noise and seems to think for a moment as she strokes her chin. Oh, it was nothing too serious. Just this guy who worked at the gym I went to. I believe he was a draft horse. My mouth goes a little dry. A draft horse? Mm-hmm. She smiles lightly. He was really sweet, and the muscles were nice. Usually I don't like being picked up, but it was definitely interesting, with him being nearly 7 feet tall. I stare blankly at her, eyes wide. She continues to smile at me, though the corner of her mouth twitches and she brings her paw up to cover her muzzle. Chase! I'm messing with you. Jenna! I scowl. Wait, is that really your type? I thought you would be more into, like, twiggy anime boys. I'll have you know, my manga and anime interests do not control my love life. I like people primarily based off their personality. Oh, I'm fucked then? Jenna chuckles at that. She reaches out and takes my paw, giving it a firm squeeze before patting my cheek. Though it feels nice, I'm still not sure how to take all this. I'm sorry for messing with you. Her voice is clear and soft, and she punctuates the end of her sentence with a kiss on the tip of my nose. I'm admittedly a little nervous myself. Crossing new thresholds like this can be a little nerve-wracking. But make no mistake, I do want this. I let that settle for a moment before reaching up, taking hold of each of her wrists. Wait, are you serious? She nods happily. If you're okay with it, of course. Really? You and me? She nods again. Mm-hmm. Like, boyfriend and girlfriend. The thought enters my head just before I speak it, and I have just enough time to close my mouth before it's uttered. She looks at me curiously. Just shut up and say yes. Yeah, I'm done with this. Yeah. Bro, what the hell? Yo! Okay. I'm going to leave off here. Wow. I'm glad I didn't have to read another sex scene. Don't get me wrong, those are kind of fun to read, but like, holy fuck, I'm glad I didn't have to read one. Just then. Okay, I'm gonna log off, so stay safe and have a good night.